talk to leaders. We don't shy away from difficult conversations.
We report about disruption and how the latest technology and innovation have changed the way we live.
We told stories about crisis, but also about opportunities that came with it.
This is the Philippines.
And we are ANC.
Welcome to Eastwood City.
Introducing Converge FiberX Time of Day. Personalize your plan to meet your internet demands at set times of the day. With this dynamic technology, you can get higher speeds when you need it the most. Experience better with Converge.
Go beyond.
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 Go beyond. Go beyond. Go beyond. Go beyond.
Go beyond.
Go beyond.
Go beyond.
Go beyond.
Go beyond.
Go beyond.
Go beyond.
Go beyond.
Let's go beyond.
Go beyond.
Go beyond.
Go beyond.
Isang tawag mo lang, text o chat man yan, problema'y gumagaan, lungkot sumasaya. Buksan mo ang San Miguel, pinsan mo sa beer call ng barkada. Beer call muna tayo, beer call muna tayo. O anong sarap ng pinsan ko, beer call muna tayo. Kahit kailan, walang iwanan, beer call muna tayo. Drink responsibly.
for every memory, a special place.
The power to move a nation forward takes root in the productivity of business and industries. As your Meralco corporate partner, we understand the role power plays in fueling the growth of your business, how it moves, how it brings things to life, how it drives your business, and ultimately, how it plays a role in building a nation. We have evolved from being a power distribution company to a total energy solutions provider.
We value the fact that Meralco has taken a very proactive approach to customer service and given us the ability to provide reliable and sustainable services to our customers, effectively tying our relationship with Meralco to our relationship with our customers.
There is power in partnerships. Partner with us today.
What would their first steps be like if we don't take the first steps to decarbonization now? At First Gen, we have always believed that we can regenerate our environment by going 0% coal and switching to low-carbon energy. The energy company pioneering the transition to renewable energy. First Gen, the first step to a decarbonized and renewed Philippines.
From the beginning, mankind survived by following rules that are measured with faith and made with wisdom. It is written in Genesis chapter 6, verses 15 to 16. This is how you are to build it. The ark is to be 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. Make a roof for it, leaving below the roof an opening 1 cubit high all around. Put a door in the side of the ark and make lower, middle, and upper decks. Capitalizing on the historical learnings of Noah on how the ark was built with precise instructions, Noah Business Applications has been meticulously designed to deliver substantial results that comply to the financial and operational requirements of various companies across different industries. The success of Noah Business Applications is rooted from its strong, proven, and sustainable implementation methodologies from appreciation session to knowledge sharing. Noah conducted 4 levels of tests before he let all the creatures out of the ark after the great flood. All these tests were written in the Genesis chapter 8 verses 6 through 12. These tests are paralleled with Noah Business Applications' 4 level of test, namely developers testing, system integration testing, quality control testing, and user acceptance testing. Today, Noah Business Applications advances the roles of enterprise resources planning from financials, financial consolidation, warehousing, production, banking, distribution, forecasting, planning and budgeting, treasury and loan management, realty, human resources management system, procurement management, project management, customer relation management, mobility, analytics reporting and dashboard, and data management. NOAA, advancing the role of ERP.
People don't just build a home, they build a life. And Vista Land is with you in building a future worth living. As one of the leading integrated property developers and the largest home builder in the country, with over 40 years of real estate experience, Vista Land enables Filipinos to fulfill their dreams through low-cost and affordable housing units, mid-range priced properties, high-end luxury residences, and condo developments. These developments are located near prime areas that allow residents to enjoy their ideal lifestyle in their own communities. Through the years, Vista Land has become the country's preferred brand of housing, and we will continue creating communities that will help Filipinos build a future worth living.
For 15 years, Divina Law has championed dynamic lawyering from provenance to paradigm with unwavering awareness, with passion and faith, and with a clear collective conscience. It is now a legal institution, venerated and recognized by its peers, respected and admired by its competition, cherished and relied upon by its clients. Built under the steadfast vision and hard work of one man, the revered attorney Nilo Divina. Divina Law evolved from a niche law firm to a litigation machine, adequately handling and handily winning cases for some of the largest blue chip clients in the country. Divina Law has a solid proven reputation, but its evolution and success do not stand on the shoulders of its reputation alone, but also on its constitution and philosophy. To do everything within the bounds of ethics and honored principles, to serve, to delight, to win for the client. Divina Law has always taken upon itself to generate positive results produced in good faith, powered by its collective legal brilliance, and guided by the divine. It is only fitting that what represents this significant milestone is a crystal, a symbol of light, clarity, and solidarity. The very same qualities that brought Divina Law to its current, esteemed stature. We look forward to being the law firm of the progressive present and set on answering the call of an unpredictable tomorrow.
I am Divina Law.
Divina Law at 15, a vision crystallized.
our Union Bank of the Philippines, the Philippines' best digital bank. In the recent Bank Quality Consumer Survey on retail banks last April, we were ranked number 2 of the most helpful banks in Asia Pacific during the COVID-19 crisis, and is the only Philippine bank in the top 20 list. Because of the pandemic, it has become crucial that our products and services quickly adapt to the challenges presented in this new digital normal.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the first day of the 53rd FINEX Annual Conference. Before we start, may I invite everyone for the opening prayer and the singing of the Philippine National Anthem.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for the gift of good health and peace that we have enjoyed for so many years. As we find ourselves in this time of crisis today, we ask for your divine intervention and mercy to be upon each of us. We lift up all those in leadership during these difficult times. Father, we ask that you will be their guide as they navigate through this time of uncertainty. May they be discerning in the decisions that they make, always working for the common good of all. We pray especially for those in government, that you will grant them wisdom, prudence, and foresight, as they work to eradicate this scourge from their land. We also pray for church leaders, that they continue to be effective pastors to your people. Help them discover new and creative ways to reach out to your children, and to be messengers of your gospel of peace, hope, and love. Come and guide the minds of those working to discover a treatment to the COVID-19. Grant them wisdom, knowledge, and clarity of mind, so that all peoples will be free from the threat of this ailment. We also pray for the healthcare workers that are standing in the front line of this battle. Father, we thank you for their hearts of service, putting the needs of society before their own, generously responding to the cry of your people. We ask that you grant them strength and protection. As they give of themselves in selfless service, may you fill them with your Holy Spirit, as they work to be your healing hands and feet. Father, we also surrender to you all those who have been afflicted with the virus. Grant them your healing grace, merciful Father, so that they may recover swiftly and continue to be witnesses of your love in their lives. We lift up to you those who have lost loved ones through this pandemic, that you will give them comfort in their time of need, and that you will grant eternal rest to those who have returned to you. Mother Mary, we ask for your intercession in this great time of need. Cover each of us with your mantle of protection, so that we may be preserved in good health to continue to glorify your Son, Jesus Christ. We make this prayer through Christ, our Savior and Redeemer. Amen.
At this point, may I now call on the FINEX President and Senior Legal Counsel at Accra Law, Attorney Francisco Ed Lim.
Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas Governor Benjamin Diokno, our esteemed government officials present in this conference, FINEX members, speakers, panelists, moderators, our friends from the media, and guests. What a great morning this is. Welcome to the 53rd Annual Conference of FINEX. For this year, we chose the overall theme of inclusive disruption, achieving a sustainable future in the new frontier. As you may have observed in the conference poster, we have different themes per day with the objective of unboxing our main conference theme. Today, for example, is Inclusion Monday. In the new frontier, we envision a world where there is a smaller gap between the richest of the rich and the poorest of the poor in our society. We need to be looking at ourselves carefully and decide to make this happen. Tomorrow will be Cooperation Tuesday. We're seeing a frontier where individuals, companies, and countries are working within the same ecosystem at an ever-increasing rate. We will hear from our speakers and panelists whether they're actually seeing this in the marketplace. This will be followed by Future Proof Wednesday. The future is not cast in stone. We at FINEX believe that we make our own future. Our sessions will discuss what a post-pandemic life in the 21st century will look like. And we will also be discussing different scenarios about the future. For Technology Thursday, we will hear about how media and education are evolving amidst the technological challenges and developments to remain relevant and be a force in our society. Lastly, for Sustainable Friday, we will discuss the environment and the evolution of the finance function. A wide range of topics to be covered by the conference this year indeed. As the Philippines, together with the rest of the world, begins to emerge from the global effects of the pandemic, one thing is clear. We have entered a period in which the adoption of the technological breakthroughs and developments have been accelerated to help address the pandemic's effects on business, economic, social, and even geopolitical norms. We now live in a time when organizations are forced to adapt to new ways of doing business in a relatively short period of time. Leaders are forced to change how they govern and manage their people, and employees are made to change how they perform their jobs. We have all been pushed into a new frontier. Despite the fact that these technological disruptions pre-existed the COVID-19 crisis, the situation became even more complicated as this pandemic spread at an alarming and accelerated pace. The issue for leaders is to figure out how to harness these disruptions for the benefit of more people and society and thereby achieve inclusive disruption. This year's conference theme is anchored on this year's overall theme, Transcending the New Frontier, Leading Beyond Recovery. We must rise above or move beyond the harrowing impact of the pandemic and look forward with hope to the next chapter of human history. COVID-19 has catalyzed companies and the government towards digitalization as an inevitable part of the new normal post-pandemic. Quite significantly, this pandemic provided us with a clear understanding of what we need to do for our businesses to thrive and compete in this day and age and in the years ahead of us. As the leading association of financial professionals in the country, we at FINEX must embrace and promote this digital revolution for our country to remain relevant in today's world and in the years to come. It goes without saying, of course, that we must rebuild our lives from the damage caused by the pandemic. We owe it to our children and the descendants of our children. Finance executives must seek not only short-term answers, but also build long-term strategies in order to secure the long-term viability of their organizations. Survival is not enough in the new frontier. The development and implementation of plans that will allow organizations to operate on a sustainable basis for the long term are essential for success. Unquestionably, humanity will endure and move past the current crisis. But time has come to continue working on long-term solutions to address the world's challenges. Organizations have a societal duty to take the initiative in this crucial pursuit. Being sustainable is becoming the competitive advantage. The fact that no institution or individual can fully meet the issues that these forces have posed upon each and every global citizen cannot be overstated, nor should it. Everyone must find a way to collaborate and assist one another. Everyone in business must collaborate and help one another to effectively meet the problems of the new frontier. Each team member should feel engaged and motivated not only to contribute to the organization's success, but also to make an impact on the lives of all stakeholders of their business. We at FINEX must take the lead in the field of finance in order to safeguard the viability of our economy. We shall take advantage of the wisdom and expertise of our members, refined by years of experience, in order to assist our organization and country in moving beyond the current stage of healing. The pandemic is still testing the human spirit on many levels, including physical, emotional, financial, psychological, and social dimensions. Different strains of the virus have emerged this year. Right now, the Delta virus, which is highly contagious, is wreaking havoc across the nation and the world. To add, vaccine hesitancy is still high and supply is still uncertain. The preparations for this week-long conference was such a tough act. And without the FINEX Week Committee's untiring efforts and unselfish contribution of their time, this conference would not have been possible. I would like to sincerely thank the committee, led by co-chairs Brian Edang and Albert Gamboa, and Liaison Director Mike Borin, and the committee's members, Technical Subcommittee Chair Raul Villegas, Publication Subcommittee Chair Bianca Mercado, past Presidents Ebot Tan and Jeng Pascual, Terry Magleo, Felix C., Kay Santos, Goody Fernandez, Jet Pampolina, Paulo Azurin, and Stefan Hamed, and many others. Of course, including our ever-dedicated and hardworking staff led by Mike Binluan for going the extra mile to make this world-class event happen. I would also like to thank our sponsors for continually supporting the projects of FINEX despite the onslaught of the pandemic. Rest assured that your financial and kind support will be put to good use. Last but not least, my special thanks goes to our speakers, panelists, moderators, and master of ceremonies who gracefully accepted our invitation to be part of our flagship event for the year, and for sharing their know-how, experience, and insights with the participants of this conference. In closing, as I mentioned in my inaugural address early this year, we in FINEX must go back to our own value of bayanihan. We must work together as one. Together, we will emerge from this pandemic stronger and better. Enjoy the conference and make sure to take full advantage of it, as there will be valuable takeaways for you and your organization. Maraming salamat at mabuhay ang FINEX. Mabuhay tayong lahat.
Thank you, Attorney Francis. Let us now watch the video messages from Vice President Maria Leonor Robredo, Secretary of the Department of Finance Carlos Dominguez, and the Chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Emilio Aquino.
Good morning to all the participants of the FINEX Annual Conference 2021, and congratulations to all of you for organizing this gathering. I hope you are keeping safe and well. It has been a year and a half since the pandemic changed the world as we know it, creating unimaginable impact on the economy. As COVID-19 cases continue to rise, even the most established businesses are struggling to stay afloat. Not a few have been forced to shut their doors and let go of staff. With unemployment reaching its highest rate ever on record, the inequality gap continues to widen, and those in the margins are bearing the brunt of the hardship. As the country's financial executives, you see firsthand the numbers that ultimately impact on the lives of our countrymen. But I remain hopeful that we will survive this crisis, because I have seen how Filipino people from all sectors continue to organize and mobilize to help one another. The pandemic has shown how interconnected we all are. To echo your theme of inclusive disruption, if we are to rebuild our economy and our future, we must rebuild it with inclusiveness as an animating philosophy, focusing our approach towards uplifting the lives of those in the margins. The way for everyone to thrive will be to ensure that the energies of our economy flow freely and with purpose, from the bottom up, from the daily wage earner and the street vendor, to the big and small businesses, from the margins to the center. As we continue to face the challenges of the pandemic, may we face each day not only with hope, but with courage and deep resolve, bound by a common aspiration for a world that is kinder, fairer, and more humane. Rest assured that I and the rest of the OVP family will remain with you in this effort to build a better normal for all. Thank you very much. May you have a meaningful and insightful conference.
Thank you for the opportunity to join the Financial Executives Institute of the Philippines 53rd Annual Conference. Over its long existence, FINEX distinguished itself as a professional association deeply concerned with the state of the nation. Its members took brave public positions when the times required doing so. I am grateful for the support FINEX gave to our efforts to modernize our tax policies and fiscal incentive system. No other group could be more qualified to vet the reform policies we pursued than FINEX. A FINEX endorsement is like a seal of good housekeeping. Our tax reform policies, as you know, made us fully prepared to meet the global health crisis head-on. They strengthened our revenue flows and added incentives to do business in our economy. The Duterte presidency is the only administration in Philippine history that dramatically reduced income tax rates twice in a single presidential term. First for our workers and then for corporations. This underscores the pro-business and pro-people stand of President Duterte. Moreover, this administration increased excise taxes on sin products 3 times, highlighting what strong political will can do to discourage our people from consuming products that harm their health. These reforms would not have been possible without FINEX's efforts to educate the public of the tax measures' benefits. The Duterte administration commits to complete the comprehensive tax reform program in the coming months. Package 3 will make our property valuation system at par with international standards. Package 4 aims to simplify the taxation of passive income and financial services and transactions. There are other reform policies moving through the legislative mill. We will work with Congress to pass the amendments to the Foreign Investments Act, the Public Service Act, and the Retail Trade Liberalization Act. These reforms will bring dynamism to the domestic economy, spurring more innovation, better products and services, and jobs for our people. I hope FINEX will give these policies the usual scrutiny it does and find them worthy of its support. As we work on economic recovery and roll out the vaccination program in full swing, we should be accelerating our march to modernization. I have long advocated for a rapid shift to digital technologies in both public and private sectors. This transition will enable more intensive interaction with consumers, quicker sharing of knowledge, and more efficient processing. The early move towards digitalization of our revenue agencies, for instance, made them remain fully functional despite the ongoing pandemic. Not only were our tax collection agencies able to collect the much-needed revenues as we battled a public health crisis, but they also succeeded in making the processes more convenient for our taxpayers. Nowhere is the impact of digital technology more pronounced than in finance. Even before the pandemic, the government encouraged the rapid adoption of fintech or financial technologies in our country. We have put in place a liberal regulatory environment to enable fintechs to flourish. I trust that FINEX will continue to promote digital innovations to widen financial inclusion in the country. Broadening the financial system is indispensable to achieve an inclusive economy. We need to work harder to include more Filipinos in the banking system and the capital markets. I am sure FINEX will be with us at the forefront of this effort. Finally, let me close by congratulating FINEX for its 53rd annual conference. May this association flourish in the years to come. Thank you.
My warmest greetings to the Financial Executives Institute of the Philippines on this occasion of your 53rd Annual FINEX Conference. Change is everywhere, at work, in our home, in our communities, in our relationships, you name it. Heraclitus, the Greek philosopher, had said, "Nothing is permanent but change." How often are we caught by surprise with changes? Are we ourselves changing? Are we ready to reroute our actions around what the change calls for? Are we ready to change again and faster the next time? The global COVID-19 pandemic has forevermore changed our experiences as consumers, employees, citizens, humans, and as a result, our attitudes and behaviors are changing. Business leaders have to adapt quickly to these changes if they are to optimize their organization's resilience and leverage on emerging opportunities for growth. We look to our finance experts to take the helm and steer our economy and country forward amid all the changes and developments in the finance industry. We need our businesses to be resilient. We need them to be creative and adapt to the changing times. It is not only critical that their executives have the know-how to navigate the landscape, stabilize the business, and position for it to thrive when conditions improve. Indeed, leadership matters most when times are uncertain and changing. We live in a different world today. What may have worked well in the past may not yield the same results today. Business leaders are summoned to embrace these uncomfortable situations, thrive in the uneasiness, and in the process, learn new things. An author once said, "For life not to be wasted, it demands a level of risk and adventure. If you are willing to live this way, change loses its horror." In fact, the advancing person purposely creates change because the world is not currently how he or she would like it. Breaking through your fears makes you free. On the other hand, those who are continually seeking security, ironically, are rocked by the possibility that they may lose it. So I commend FINEX, the country's premier organization of senior finance professionals and practitioners, for organizing programs and activities for its members and partners in the business and financial community, helping them adopt, thrive, and swim through all these changes and uncertainties towards a sustainable future. Your theme, Inclusive Disruption, Achieving a Sustainable Future in the New Frontier, speaks well that instead of seeing change as the end of something, you see it as a beginning of another. Indeed, I subscribe that the quicker we let go of the lost old system, the sooner we find new ways and benefit from them. I wish FINEX the very best in its endeavors. May we all move on and progress in this new and changing world. Thank you very much, and mabuhay!
Thank you, Vice President Lenny Robredo, Secretary Carlos Dominguez, and Chairman Emilio Aquino. May I now call on the co-chairs of the FINEX Week Committee, Mr. Joseph Albert Gamboa and Mr. Brian Edang, for the conference brief and acknowledgement of sponsors.
Inclusive disruption
Achieving a Sustainable Future in the New Frontier. The theme for this year's FINEX conference is a follow-through of our theme last year, the future of finance in a post-pandemic world. As the world emerges from the global effects of the pandemic, one thing is clear: we have all been thrust into a new frontier. A challenge for leaders is how to use these technological disruptions for the benefit of all sectors of society. In the new frontier, survival is not enough. Organizations must develop and implement strategies that will allow them to operate on a sustainable basis for the long term. The underprivileged will be brought out of their poverty by leveraging technological changes through inclusive disruption. For our 10 conference sessions, we have more than 40 speakers, panelists, and moderators from 12 countries who will discuss how they are directing disruptions in their respective fields. We have also designated sub-themes for the 5 days of this annual conference. Today is Inclusion Monday. Session 1 is on achieving inclusivity for the people, and Session 2 is on inclusive capitalism. Tomorrow is Cooperation Tuesday. Session 3 is on regional and global cooperation, while Session 4 is about an integrated Asia-Pacific. On Future Proof Wednesday, Session 5 will reflect on a post-pandemic life, and Section 6 deals on planning for the present. Tech Thursday is a collaboration between the FINEX Week Committee and the Media Affairs Committee for Session 7, and with the Junior FINEX Committee for Session 8. Lastly, on Sustainable Friday, Session 9 is about safe water to achieve health and hope, while Session 10 is on repositioning the finance function of the organization. During the next 5 days, let's work together virtually toward a more inclusive, cohesive, and sustainable future.
Thank you, Albert. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 53rd FINEX Annual Conference with the theme Inclusive Disruption, Achieving a Sustainable Future in the New Frontier. I am Brian Edang, co-chair of the FINEX Week Committee and Chief Financial Officer of Vista Land and Lifescapes Incorporated. At this point, we would like to acknowledge our sponsors. Our partners, Divina Law, LT Group of Companies, Union Bank of the Philippines. To our platinum sponsors, Aboitiz Equity Ventures Inc., Alliance Global Group Inc., First Philippine Holdings Corporation, NOAA Business Applications, Robinson's Land Corporation, United Auctioneers Inc., and Vista Land and Lifescapes Incorporated. To our diamond sponsors, All Day Supermarket, All Home, Ayala Land Inc., Meralco, and Reyes Tacandong and Company. Our knowledge partner, KPMG RC Manabat and Company. To our gold sponsors, Accra Law, Certec Holdings Philippine Corporation, Converge ICT Solutions Inc., Philinvest Development Corporation, FTI Consulting Inc., Metro Bank, Mondenisin Corporation, Navarro Ampera and Company, PNA Grant Thornton, RCBC, San Miguel Corporation, Pilipinas Shell Petroleum Corporation, and SGV and Company. To our patron sponsors, BDO Unibank Inc., Bank of the Philippine Islands, Megaworld, Philippine National Bank, Security Bank, Wilcon Depot, and East West Bank. Our official broadcast partner, ABS-CBN News Channel, and to our print media partners, Business Mirror, Business World, Daily Tribune, and the Manila Times. Thank you all for supporting our FINEX Annual Conference. To everyone, hope to see you all in this week-long event, and stay safe always.
Thank you, co-chairs Brian and Albert. The theme of the first session is Achieving Inclusivity for the People. May I now call on the MC for our first session. She is the Vice President for Investment Portfolio of SM Investment Corporation, Attorney Jesusa Loreto Arellano.
morning, everyone, and welcome to the first session of the 53rd Annual FINEX Week Conference. We have a very exciting week ahead. The theme of this year's conference is Inclusive Disruption, Achieving a Sustainable Future in the New Frontier. This year, we will be rolling out a series of webinars involving prestigious speakers discussing thought-provoking topics. Our morning session will focus on financial inclusion. Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas is at the forefront of this advocacy. The BSP promotes financial inclusion, which will allow everyone to have access to affordable and appropriate financial products and services. This will open up opportunities for more Filipinos to improve their financial well-being, support inclusive growth, and reap the benefits of a growing economy as a result of financial inclusion. The BSP supports the implementation of the Philippine National ID System in order to assist those who do not have bank accounts with identification requirements. In one interview with Governor Benjamin Diokno, he said, "Financial inclusion will help us recover from the adverse economic impact of the pandemic and make us better prepared for a post-COVID-19 economy." A significant portion of the effort to increase financial inclusion in the Philippines is based on technology, which enables stakeholders to participate more fully in the digital economy. After more than a year of dealing with the pandemic, we can say that financial consumers are becoming more accustomed to the use of technology for their financial transactions. At this backdrop, it is only fitting to have no less than the BSP governor to be our keynote speaker for the opening salvo of this year's conference. Dr. Diokno is the current governor of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. Prior to his appointment, he served as budget secretary from 2016 to 2019. On his third tour of duty at the Department of Budget and Management, he pursued an expansionary fiscal policy to finance investments in human capital development and public infrastructure. As governor of BSP, he is not only pursuing the mandates of price stability, financial stability, an efficient payment system and settlement system, but also endeavors to bring central banking closer to the people. One of its primary thrusts is to champion digital payments and aims to shift 50% of retail payment transactions to digital ones by the end of his term. He has extensive experience in implementing reforms at the public sector, having also served as Budget Undersecretary from 1986 to 1991 and Budget Secretary from 1998 to 2001. He is Professor Emeritus of the University of the Philippines, Diliman. He served as Fiscal Advisor to the Philippine Senate. He also served as Chairman and CEO of the Philippine National Oil Company and Chairman of the Local Water Utilities Administration. He served as an advisor and consultant to various multilateral agencies like the World Bank, Asian Development Bank, European Commission, and USAID for work in the Philippines, China, and transitioning economies like Vietnam, Cambodia, and Mongolia. He finished his bachelor's degree in public administration from the University of the Philippines in 1968 and earned his master's degree in public administration in 1970 and economics in 1974 from the same university. He also holds a Master of Arts in Political Economy in 1976 from the Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, Maryland, and a PhD in Economics in 1981 from the Maxwell School of Citizenship and Public Affairs, Syracuse University in New York. Ladies and gentlemen, our BSP Governor, Benjamin E. Diokno.
Thank you for that introduction and good morning. Thank you for inviting me to the 53rd Annual Conference of the Financial Executives Institute of the Philippines. With all the disruptions in the current environment, the challenge is for us to transform these developments into something that is beneficial for the country. That is precisely what the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas has been doing, leveraging on technological progress to hasten economic growth and financial inclusion. Even before the coronavirus pandemic, we have embraced financial technology to bring more Filipinos inside the financial loop and help improve their lives. These developments have enabled the Filipino people to continuously transact business within the safety of their homes during this time of the pandemic. Though the pandemic hit us hard, the Philippine economy is expected to recover in 2021 and 2022. In fact, the economy has started to rebound. The economy grew by 11.8% in the second quarter, and based on the latest government projections, the economy will grow anywhere between 4 and 5% this year and expand to a range of 7 to 9% next year. The economic recovery will be supported by manageable inflation, stable banking sector, and robust external payments sector. Estimates show that inflation is expected to slightly exceed the 2 to 4% target range this year due to supply factors, though this is expected to ease by next year. This manageable inflation will continue to provide an enabling environment for investments that will result in more jobs and higher income. Philippine banks are sound and well capitalized. As such, banks will remain capable of supporting economic growth. The country's external liquidity buffers continue to be more than adequate. Our gross international reserves of $108 billion, the steady inflow from remittances and business process outsourcing, and the recovery of exports and foreign direct investments will support the peso. However, the BSP does not only intend to simply to be back where the economy was before the pandemic. We aspire for a stronger, more resilient, more technologically advanced, and more inclusive post-COVID-19 economy. We are working towards this goal in 3 ways. The first is through the pursuit of relevant reforms that will support economic recovery and growth and build its resilience. These reforms include the passage of the performance-based fiscal incentives under the Corporate Recovery and Tax Incentives for Enterprises, or the CREATE Act, which attract foreign direct investments in the long run. And the other thing is the Financial Institutions Strategic Act, or FIST, which will keep the financial sector stable amid the pandemic. The second way is by contributing to infrastructure development through the adoption of regulatory measures that will make it easier for infrastructure companies to finance projects, such as increasing single borrower's limit and deepening the capital market. Third is through the inclusion agenda. The BSP has put in place regulations and programs so that micro enterprises can have easier access to credit and other financial services, and thus boost digital financial inclusion in the country. We also continue to work on our financial literacy programs to improve the knowledge of Filipinos on savings and investment. Indeed, the pandemic has highlighted the importance of inclusive digital finance. Early groundwork on digitalization has enabled many Filipinos to shift easily and rapidly to digital platforms. The foundations of the digital finance ecosystem, the basic deposit account, the network of low-cost touchpoints, and the national retail payment system earned remarkable gains during the pandemic. The number of basic deposit accounts opened in 133 banks has reached 6.6 million accounts, amounting to 4.7 billion pesos in 2020. With 61 electronic money issuers in the country, around 35 million active e-money accounts were recorded last year. We have also noted a continued expansion of low-cost touchpoints, enabling access to financial services, Last year, there were 58,000 cash agents and over 84,000 e-money agents nationwide. This translates to 91% of local government units with access to agent banking services that enable financial institutions to serve a wider client base, particularly in low-income and rural areas, at greater efficiency but less cost. Physical and mobility restrictions heightened the use of electronic fund transfer schemes. The volume of PesoNet transactions totaled 31.6 million for the first half of 2021, representing a 164% growth. Similarly, the volume of InstaPay transactions for the same period increased by 201 million, posting a 223% growth. We now have a total of 87 participants for PesoNet and 55 participants for InstaPay, and these figures are growing. Serving as the cornerstone of the BSP's digitalization agenda, the Digital Payments Transformation Roadmap outlines priority policy initiatives and strategies to advance an efficient, inclusive, and secure digital finance ecosystem. It also seeks to drive innovation in the delivery and development of financial services, catering to various clients' needs and capabilities. By 2023, the roadmap hopes to achieve the following. First is the conversion of 50% of total volume of retail payments into digital form. Second is the expansion of account ownership to 70% of Filipino adults. To build use cases for account ownership and digital payment rails, the BSP has collaborated with different government agencies, such as the Department of Labor and Employment, Department of Social Welfare and Development, and Department of Transportation. Furthermore, the BSP launched the National Quick Response Standard, or QRPH, to promote interoperability and reduce cost of digitalization for small businesses. The BSP is also expanding engagements with other target segments to promote digital finance. We are encouraging the National Council on Disability Affairs for greater financial inclusion of the persons with disability sector. Our initiatives include information sessions on the benefits of financial inclusion, the issuance of regulation on upholding non-discriminatory policies, providing mobility ramps in bank premises, and Braille on automated teller machines. We have also invited the Department of Interior and local government to be the 21st member of the Interagency Financial Inclusion Steering Committee in July 2021, given its unique position to promote financial inclusion among local government units. To sustain the efficiency of delivery of financial services, the BSP has advocated initiatives to strengthen the country's digital finance infrastructure. The BSP supports the rollout of the National ID System, or PhilSys, which targets 50 to 70 million Filipino registrants by year end. The PhilSys provides a unique and verifiable digital identity that can be used as an official document for availing financial services, such as opening an account and receiving government assistance. A co-location arrangement between the Philippine Statistics Authority and the Land Bank of the Philippines has allowed PhilSys registrants to open a bank account on site. This arrangement has resulted in the onboarding of over 5.3 million unbanked Filipinos to date. The The BSP is involved in efforts to mainstream PhilSys adoption through policy development and issuance of relevant industry regulations, such as the acceptance of PhilSys ID as an official and sufficient proof of identity. The BSP, as the chair of the Financial Inclusion Steering Committee, endorsed Executive Order number 127, which promotes the use of satellite broadband technology. This technology will be able to address digital connectivity gaps in rural and remote communities, as well as reduce the cost of delivering digital financial services nationwide. While digitalization is safe, convenient, and effective, the BSP is also aware that it comes with risk. Accordingly, the BSP issued a governance policy for operators of payment system as part of the phased-in implementation of the National Payment Systems Act. The governance policy provides for the regulatory expectations and governance standards that operators of payment systems must follow, considering their critical roles in ensuring the smooth circulation of funds in the economy in a safe and efficient manner. In addition, the BSP also requires designated payment systems to adopt international standards to further protect public interest and promote confidence in the use of payment systems. This is embodied in a circular on the principles for financial market infrastructures developed by the Bank for International Settlements and the International Organization of Securities Commissions. For your information, the country's first designated payment system is the Peso Real-Time Gross Settlement System, operated by the BSP. And this was approved by the Monetary Board in July 2021. The proposed Financial Consumer Protection Act is also necessary as it has far-reaching benefits to consumers, especially amid the rise in digital transactions. This act will allow regulators to further ensure that appropriate mechanisms are in place to safeguard the interests of financial consumers. The PSP has also upgraded the country's 17-year-old real-time gross settlement system with a new generation system called PhilPass Plus, which went live last July 26. With the upgraded system, PhilPass Plus is able to settle larger numbers and more complex financial. This will help the financial services industry keep pace with a rapidly progressing digital transformation of both local and global economies. PhilPass Plus shall significantly enhance risk reduction, security levels, business continuity provisions, liquidity management, and the generation of data and information. Among the many features of the PhilPass Plus is the adoption of the ISO 20022 International Message Standards, which shall advance interoperability of payment systems across the Philippines and with those in other jurisdictions. All these disruptions lead us to a new frontier. It brings a lot of opportunities, only if we are willing to embrace them as chances for growth and development. Technological breakthroughs are here to improve lives, make things easier for everyone, and help us survive the global health crisis. And the BSP shall continue to use all this to bring every Filipino inside the financial loop as we make our way towards a sustainable and digitally inclusive post-COVID-19 economy. Thank you and good day to everyone.
Thank you, Governor Diokno, for an insightful address. Truly, the efforts and initiatives of the BSP towards a post-pandemic economy bring hope that the country will recover from the adverse effect of this crisis. Due to a priorly set important meeting, Governor Diokno has to leave early. But before he leaves, he gracefully agreed to accommodate some of our questions. To facilitate this, may I now call on our moderator, FINEX Financial Inclusion Committee Vice Chair and Lead Consultant for Infrastructure Projects and Finance for the OLI Consulting Group, Mr. Jose Vicente Joey Campos. Joey, please take it away.
Thank you very much, Jing. And thank you very much, Governor Diokno, for your insightful presentation on the initiatives of the BSP towards financial inclusion. I would like to mention, though, that the BSP has recently approved 6 digital banking licenses and is expected to approve 1 more license soon. Of these licenses, the majority are subsidiaries of local bank, the Overseas Filipino Bank, Union Bank of the Philippines, and Robinsons Bank. How does the governor view the development of digital banking towards greater financial inclusion in the country? How can these banks participate in this process?
Well, to be accurate, we approved 6 digital banks, and it will remain 6 because the 7th slot, which was supposed to be competed among the 19, will be competed by the 9 additional applicants. It turned out that the 9 additional applicants failed to submit the complete documentation for the request. So we will keep it as 6, right? So as you know, digital banking is different from the traditional banking. We only require them to have one headquarter, no branches, no light branches even. And so they will have, I would think they will be operating at lower cost, and therefore that will maybe drive the interest much higher than compared to the digital banks, okay? Because if you maintain a branch, you spend a lot of money to maintain a branch, and so that will add to your cost. And we're also banking on the new technology. So adopting new technology without any baggage will be a big boost for these 6 digital banks. So that's why we kept it at 6, so that we will closely monitor. We'll be able to closely monitor the development, and also to make sure that there is healthy competition among the digital banks and the existing banks. So that's where we are right now. And you mentioned that 3 of the 6 are affiliated with established banks, but you have PayMaya, right? Correct. And so there are different configuration of the digital banks. So we're giving them 3 years to operate, but some are really ready, and they have huge network. So I can the OFW bank is already working, and I'm sure the others will be online pretty soon, maybe in less than 6 months. So it's an exciting development, and the digital banks will still be subject to the same prudential requirements that we imposed on the existing banks.
Thank you very much for that answer, Governor Diokno. We certainly look forward to what the digital banks can deliver in terms of new services for the Filipino. My next question is about the PhilSys, because proper identification of the customers is one of the challenges most banks face. And today you mentioned that 5.3 million unbanked Filipinos have recently been onboarded because of PhilSys. But while identification closes the gap, what are the other actions that the BSP is working towards to bring more and more of these unbanked Filipinos into a greater participation in the formal banking system?
Well, not many know this, but because this is not aggressively marketed by existing banks, is that we have opened what is called the basic deposit account, right? there's a very minimum requirement for capitalization. The initial deposit, rather, it's only 100 pesos, and there's that there will be it will, because sometimes when you open an account and it's not active, it will expire, right? So there'll be no expiration date, and so no maintaining balance. And so we're asking the banks to aggressively market this, because that will be important when you do digital payments, right? All you have to do is relate it to one account. And so if this is we're successful in this, and it looks like Land Bank is aggressively marketing this, because they are right there on site with the field sys as they issue the ID. They also open an account for people. And so if the banks aggressively market this, I think it will increase the number of deposit accounts that that we are aspiring for. Our target is that at least 70% of all adult Filipinos should have an account, and it could be BDA, or it could be other digital accounts.
Thank you very much, Governor Diokno. I'd like to pose I believe this is part of financial inclusion, but it's a topic that has recently become very popular in the psyche of the Filipinos. I'm sure you're familiar that non-fungible tokens in play-to-earn games such as Axie Infinity are enabling Filipino gamers to earn additional income. The game uses a mobile phone and a digital platform to play to earn. And the BSP has recently warned the public that these financial activities may have the potential for problems, but at the same time, these activities can boost financial inclusion and digital payments in the country. What is the BSP and the governor's own view on these online games?
We embrace innovation. I think there are benefits from innovation like this, but we also, part of our mandate is to protect consumers, right, from losses as a result of this. So we are trying to weigh with the benefits and the cost. And so as new technology or as new items, say cryptocurrency or CBDC, these are now becoming to be very popular among central bankers. So we exchange notes, and we want to make sure that we do this very deliberately, safely, and so I have created a task force within BSP to study all this, and so we'll make the necessary arrangement as needed. But right now we're not into digital currency yet, but we'll probably be there in a few years.
Thank you. That also answers my next question. I was going to ask you about cryptocurrencies, but you've already answered that question. Well, digital payments. You've talked a lot about digital payments from the consumer side, the deposit side, but digital payments continue to grow in the country. And one of the initiatives of the BSP is the QR code, for this to be used more and more by small businesses and the like. How is this initiative going, and what are the actions that are being done to make this more widely accepted and a greater use to particularly to the small businesses in the country?
Well, as you know, the QR person-to-person, that's already on stream, and so the day will come when, but we're now moving also into the QR person-to-merchant, P2M, and in fact we launched the pilot last April, but we will now launch the full P2M program this month. So I see the day when you can now ride the jeepney or the tricycle using your QR code. You can go to the market and buy your vegetables, meat, etc. using the QR code. Sari-sari store QR code, and so we are strongly pushing for this. And as I said, we will launch it. If I remember right, on October 12th, we will launch it. The QR PM, the first QR person to merchant payments.
Excellent. I hope to see that more and more in use in the country, because it will certainly make life easier and more attractive for a lot of our small business operators.
And it's really consistent with our desire to shift from a cash-heavy society to a cash-light society. In fact, maybe we'll be a coinless society in 5 years, and eventually cashless society in maybe 10 years.
That's excellent. We will be moving in the same direction as the Netherlands, Singapore, and all these other countries that are more and more cashless every day. Are there any questions from the floor that we can give to the governor? Okay, if there are none at this time, I'd like to bring it back to, well, first I'd like to thank the governor for his candid answers to our questions, and I'd like to give this back to Jing, realizing the governor has other commitments that he has made. Thank you very much, Governor.
Thank you, Joey.
Thank you, Joey, for facilitating the discussion with Governor Diokno, and of course, thank you, Governor Diokno, for always accommodating our invitation. At this juncture, I would like to introduce our panelists. Each of them will have 5 to 7 minutes to present their reactions and insights about the topic, which will be followed by an open forum. I will introduce them now in order of presentation. Our first panelist is Dr. Jaime Aristotel Alip. Dr. Alip is a poverty eradication practitioner with more than 35 years of experience in microfinance and social enterprise development. He is the founder of the Center for Agriculture and Rural Development Mutually Reinforcing Institutions, CARD MRI, a group of 23 organizations that provide microfinance, microinsurance, and social development services to 7.4 million economically disadvantaged Filipinos nationwide and ensuring more than 28 million lives. CARD's innovative financial and enterprise development services targeting the poor have won many accolades, including the Ramon Magsaysay Award for Public Service in 2008, and for Dr. Alip, the prestigious Ramon V. Del Rosario Award for Nation Building in 2019. Dr. Alip is an alumnus of the Harvard Business School, the Southeast Asia Interdisciplinary Development Institute, and the University of the Philippines. Our next panelist is Mr. Shailes Baiduan. Shailes is the president of Voyager Innovations and PayMaya Philippines, an end-to-end digital payment ecosystem enabler in the Philippines with platforms and services that cut across all stakeholders. An internationally seasoned business leader with over 25 years of experience in financial services, he oversees the company and shapes the organization's strategy. Prior to joining PayMaya, Shailes held various leadership roles in large financial services companies in the region. He served as the president of Insights and Loyalty Solutions division at EMEA, as the CEO of American Express Banking Corporation India, and as a director at Visa Asia Pacific's region. He finished with honors his Bachelor of Arts in Economics at Delhi University and completed his MBA at India Institute of Management, Bangalore. Our last panelist is Mr. Jose Arnulfo A. Veloso. Mr. Wick Veloso is the president and CEO of the Philippine National Bank. He is also the president of the Bankers Association of the Philippines. He's a chairman of Rafael B. Buenaventura Foundation and the director of the Philippine Depository and Trust Corporation, Philippine Billing System Holdings Corp., Philippine Billing and Exchange Corp., Philippine Security Settlement Corporation, BankNet, Alliance PNB Life Insurance, Philippine Payments Management Inc., and a council member and director of ASEAN Bankers Association. He used to be the president and CEO of HSBC Philippines. Mr. Joey Camus will again facilitate the panel discussion. Let me now call on Dr. Alip for his reaction. Dr. Alip.
Thank you very much. I also have a presentation regarding my reaction. First of all, I'd like to thank Governor Diokno, Mr. Lim, the FINEX president, my co-panelists, guests, ladies and gentlemen. Let me share you some of my thoughts about the message of Governor Diokno. We in CARD MRI is really very supportive in the government's financial inclusion agenda, and of course, very timely, the agenda today, the inclusive disruption agenda, because it will only not touch all the people, but specifically touching the poorest among the poor in our country and making sure na hindi sila naiiwanan. Let me share to you my first slide. Can we go to the next slide, please? What is CARD MRI doing? You know, CARD MRI is a group of mutually reinforcing institutions, and our business is really poverty eradication through microfinance and microinsurance. We're doing this with our 3 microfinance-oriented bank and 1 NGO and our insurance company. Before COVID, we have about 6.9 million families that we're assisting. As of August 31, 2021, this COVID time, we have increased our outreach, serving 7.7 million families around the country. These are normally the very, very informal sector and the unbanked. So we have increased to more than 700,000 clients. Likewise, before COVID, our total insured is about 24 million. Today, we have increased our total insured, and this belongs to the poorest sector. This is about 29 million lives in the microinsurance sector. We're now becoming the biggest. In terms of loan outstanding, before COVID, our total loan outstanding is about 28 billion. Today, we're about 31 billion. So nag-increase pa yung aming loan outstanding because our microfinance client are able to restart their business and continue their business, especially in the countryside. And this is how robust our microfinance client is. You must remember the microfinance institution like us is the last mile conduit from the big commercial banks and other financial institutions to the microfinance client. Our repayment rate, surprisingly, before COVID is 99.49%. I must admit that we have dropped a little bit, but we're now about 95% in terms of repayment rate. And we will have full recovery by the end of the year to about 97 to 99%. This shows that the microfinance clients are very resilient and the credit discipline that have been built over the years. Surprisingly also, our savings increased. Before COVID last year, our savings is only about 25 billion. Today, it's almost the same as our loan outstanding, 31 billion. So nag-i-increase pa yung aming savings from the very poor sector. And we're operating in 96% of the entire municipalities and villages, barangay in our country, through our 3,402 offices and branches with a full-time command of 17,173. Next slide, please. How are we doing it in terms of digital initiative? 5 years ago, CARD MRI has invested already in digital initiative. And we have a very robust core banking system. And we have invested in Temenos. And we're reaching more of the unbanked sector through our mobile collection, digital cash machine, mobile financial services, money remittance, chatbot, loan origination, and smart branch system. Let me explain this on how we're doing this. Can you present the next slide, please? We have our own mobile application, which we call Connect to Card. The Connect to Card is a mobile application for our clients, wherein our clients can do cash in, cash out, fund transfer. We're also a member of this InstaPay, as mentioned by the governor, the client payment, loan, and bills payment. Our clients need not go to the premises of our bank and bank-like units to our offices. They can do their business right at the village level through our Connect to Card agents. So they can do money transfer, bills payment, they can do the savings, they can do the withdrawal, all kinds of financial transaction. And today, we have 1.3 million Connect to Card users, clients, and we hope by the end of the year, we will have about 2.5 Connect to Card users because these are now growing. Many of the MFIs, especially the append networks, are now working with us so that they can also be connected. We have over 11,000 active Connect to Card agents, and our financial transaction under this COVID is about 15.2 billion pesos. Next slide, please. Can I have the next slide, please? We also have other digital initiative. We have the digital cash machine. Our clients are the very poor in the sector. A number of them are literate, or very low education, already don't have that skills on using the ATM. So we came up with our own digital cash machine using the QR code. They can withdraw, they can cash in, they can cash out. We have our loan disbursement through chatbot, loan disbursement through mobile loan origination using online, using social media, but very, very secure. In areas where there are no connectivity or very difficult connection, because we're operating in the power-plant areas, the hard-to-reach area, we are able to put up our own remittance unit. This is the card remittance padala, and we have our own kiosk, and our clients can also do their financial transaction through our agents there. And total transaction is already about 1.4 billion pesos. Next slide, please. Coming to my last slide, we are also doing and recently launched the Auto Connect merchant application to facilitate cashless purchases of inventory. It will allow our clients, sari-sari store owners, to place order to our accredited suppliers using their savings account with the bank and monitor inventory. We just recently launched this last month, and we have about already 195 merchant accounts, sari-sari store, 6 local wholesalers, and 1 distributor. And by the end of this year, we hope to do this at around 2,000. You see, Card MRI has a total number of sari-sari store of about 700,000 all over the country. And we are very consistent and supportive of the governors and the government's retail payment through digital. We're also transforming our marketing, education, and health programs to digital because our business is poverty eradication and not only financial services, including non-financial services. We have our own card e-doctor that we have this live on Facebook 2 to 3 times a week. We have over 1 million viewers, and our doctors and nurses are able to give health tips under this COVID and also other kinds of illness. We also have our School of Microfinance, and we have transformed this to through online education and training. Maraming salamat at magandang umaga sa inyong lahat.
Thank you, Dr. Alip. May I now call on Mr. Baidwan?
Good morning to everyone. First of all, thank to PSP Governor Diokno for his opening remarks. FINEX officers, my co-panelists, Dr. Alep and Mr. Veloso, and our moderator, Mr. Joey Kamos, and all the participants and viewers. Very good morning to all of you. My name is Shailesh Badwan, but you may call me SP. It's easier and shorter. I'm the president at Voyager and PayMaya. I'm also a member of the board of directors at Maya Bank. So thank you for having us here today. At PayMaya and Maya Bank, we believe that digital finance is for all. Whether you're a consumer or an enterprise, a large company or a small merchant, whether you operate online only or on the ground or across both. Our mission is to empower every Filipino enterprise and consumer to really thrive in the digital economy. We just heard from Governor Diokno. Over the past year, digital payments adoption has taken off. And along with it, we are seeing more Filipinos getting financially included. The COVID-19, in spite of all the destruction that it brought, the one thing that it did was accelerate the digital transformation. We have a public student like JR, who opened his first financial account in order to get his allowance from his LGU. We have Aiko, an overseas worker who signed up with PayMaya so that she can directly pay her Pag-ibig contribution and send money to her parents faster. We have enterprising young people like Charmaine, who use PayMaya so that she can accept digital payments for her food business. We have Joy, a market vendor in Antipolo, who now has her own PayMaya QR code, thanks to the city's thrust for safer contactless payment options. And also, as Governor mentions, we have gone live with QRPH and are pretty much live across tens of thousands of merchants. We also have someone like Aling Devi, who's growing her Sari store and Padla business, Smart Padla business with us. And we are helping her with our first loans product, the Negosyo Advanced Microloan that we launched earlier this year. Now, we're seeing this happen at a faster pace thanks to the various inclusive and disruptive innovations from the fintech and banking industry, and is backed by an enabling regulatory environment that you heard about and supported by positive government policies. Above all, we are seeing this because consumers and enterprises are already going digital. More than half of the Filipino adults have smartphones. Average online screen time we know is 10 hours, which is a hell of a lot. And I think there was a Visa report that recently said that 6 out of 10 Filipinos now prefer to go cashless. And in spite of some of the economy coming back, people are still comfortable and keen to continue with their behavior of cashless. So there is no turning back now on the digital front. Now, about PayMaya, we are the only end-to-end digital financial service platform serving consumers, enterprise, and the government, whether they are online or on the ground. We have been at the forefront of enabling millions of consumers to have their first financial account and enabling hundreds of thousands of small merchants to accept their first ever digital payment. We do this through our PayMaya wallet, our payments processing business, and our remittance agent network business on the ground, our Smart Padla network. And now we have the Maya Bank license. We have the latest recipients of the digital banking license by the BSP, and I'll come to this in a second. Now, to support this explosion of pent-up demand for digital payments and financial services, we believe in building an inclusive and enabling financial service ecosystem that serves as the nexus connecting, like I said, all consumer segments, all enterprises of all shapes and sizes, and more importantly, including the government sector too. Now, we are seeing some very good traction in terms of generating greater inclusion. Today, registrations for consumer platforms have grown to 40 million, which is a jump of 2.5 times from where we were at the start of 2020, the pre-pandemic. We did a survey of about 10,000 active PayMaya users. 30% of them said that this is their first ever financial account. We think that this percentage may even be higher. With consumers looking for ways to access financial services, and with micro entrepreneurs like Sari store owners looking for additional income, we doubled our agent network to 57,000 agents as of now, versus at the start of 2020 when we had about 25,000 Sari stores, our agent network. With our priority push to enable MSMEs during the pandemic, we saw major growth in the number of MSMEs onboarded in 2021 as people's entrepreneurial zeal came out, some of it driven by circumstances, but it did unleash that. And importantly, the growth is not concentrated in Metro Manila. I think that's most heartening. The volume that we see that we have processed for non-NCR MSMEs grew much faster during this period than it did even for in the more established network of metro cities. Now, we are building this ecosystem to accelerate digital financial payments and FinServe adoption, and we are doing this through our platforms. So first, we have the PayMaya e-wallet. For many Filipinos, the PayMaya e-wallet is their first financial account, as I mentioned. It's easy to use for daily transactions, sending money P2P, paying your bills, purchasing airtime loads, online purchases. We also recently introduced affordable micro-insurance products with our insurance partners for health insurance, COVID-19 protection, as well as device protection for your smartphone. We have our enterprise payments processing business, and we enable all types of merchants to accept digital payments, whether it's via PayMaya, any credit or debit card, any prepaid card, other e-wallets, BankNet, you name it. We are the #1 payment processor for key industries, especially the everyday merchants. So think groceries, gas stations, pharmacy, quick service restaurants, e-commerce. For many of these enterprises, PayMaya solutions enable them to accept their first digital payment, whether it was online, their first QR, and first ever card transaction. For financial inclusion to accelerate, we understand the need to reach out to the unbanked and underbanked who currently do not necessarily have a smartphone or are always on mobile data. Our solution is to tap our wide network of Smart Padla agents who are present in over 92% of cities and municipalities. For many people in the communities, Smart Padla is their first contact point for sending money and for payments. To drive micro-entrepreneurship as we promote financial inclusion, we have totally transformed this agent from a feature phone-based to a smartphone-based one-stop shop for digital financial services. So now they can settle your bills, they can sell airtime, digital goods like airtime loads, and we have introduced working capital financing for them, which is again dispersed into their app and repaid back with every transaction that they do using their PayMaya Negosyo. We're now leveraging the deep insights and trust that we have built with Filipinos to provide the next set of intuitive, transparent, accessible, and I guess most importantly, trusted digital financial services through Maya Bank. Industry insights and our own market study show that Filipinos want the accessibility, convenience, and technology of digital payments, but they also understand the confidence and credibility that banks bring. That's why we are extremely excited to launch Maya Bank. It's the natural progression of our journey to provide financial services beyond payments, moving to the next level. We believe that we can lead in accelerating financial inclusion in the Philippines by using our speed and innovation as a fintech, plus the deep knowledge of the market and the consumers that we have built up over a number of years. So financial inclusion is our calling, and we are turbocharging our thrust at PayMaya with Maya Bank, and we will work hard to encourage Filipinos, especially the relatively younger segment and MSMEs, to spend smart, save more, and be more financially fit. I think a financially strong country with a financially fit population, that is the kind of financial inclusion that I think we all are committed to promoting. I hope you found this overview helpful, and I once again thank FINEX for having us today to be a part of this important forum. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Baidwan. May I now call on Mr. Veloso.
Good morning, everyone. I would like first to thank FINEX for inviting the Bankers Association of the Philippines to participate in this very interesting and important forum. And I'd like to say hello also to our FINEX President, Attorney Francis Lim, Governor Diokno, fellow reactors, we have Dr. Aris, Alip, SB, and to the moderator, Joey Camus.
The discussion on digital transactions really shed a lot of light as to how the future will look like. Can you imagine 61.6% of transactions are related to digital payments? And the Bankers Association of the Philippines is focused also not only in ensuring that we are a big participant to this, but also on matters that are of equal importance, which is cybersecurity. Gone are the days when somebody will walk into a financial institution holding a gun and declare a hold-up. Now, that hold-upper can be a teenager sitting in a coffee shop with a laptop and is preparing for the biggest heist. We need to make each and everyone be familiar about how to prevent cybercrime. But unfortunately, incidents of phishing, incidents of us unwittingly or unknowingly sharing important information still happen. And when that gets to materialize, how do you get to complain? Probably a few of you were victimized. And what's next? In our country, you have to report cybercrime to the Philippine National Police Cybersecurity Office in Camp Crame. That's one. Two, you can go to the National Bureau of Investigation, who's got a cybercrime office as well, and you go to their head office. Three, you go to the Department of Justice and file a complaint. That's also in their head office in Manila. We have to make the ordinary police precinct, who are very familiar with filing traffic incidents. Okay? Pag ikaw nagkaroon ka ng traffic problem, nagkaroon ng aksidente, they're very familiar how to put everything in order. You file a report, it's put in a blotter, and then if you wish to file further a case, the fiscal knows how to put everything in order. With digital transactions, we are still stage because a lot of our implementers of the rules and law are not yet that familiar. And it's getting a lot difficult because if you lose a small amount of money with cybercrime transactions, 5,000, 10,000 probably, and they say 5,000, 10,000, it's something that I don't want to go out and complain anymore. The perpetrator can just freely roam around and doesn't feel the challenge of the long arm of the law chasing them. That's what we need to be able to let them feel, that the long arm of the law is going to be able to catch them. The other part that's very close to my heart is the inclusion, financial inclusion portion. When I got elected at the Bankers Association of the Philippines, I spoke to my managing director, and he asked me about what are the programs for us to implement. And one of the questions I asked him is, where are we in terms of financial inclusion? Because the mere fact that you call it financial inclusion, it's only us here in FINEX and the peripherals who gets to understand what financial inclusion means. Pumunta ka sa bukid at sabihin mo sa mga magsasaka, financial inclusion, titignan ka lang at lahat magkakamot ng ulo. Ano bang pinagsasabi nito mga tao ito? If there is one thing that we need to be able together and make financial inclusion successful, is the ability to allow people, A, to open accounts through the national ID system. Yung national ID system na yan is very important, not only because it allows you to open an account. Opening an account is the first phase. And the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas has already done its job to ensure that we are provided with the national ID with the help of the NEDA. What we need to be able to do is to take it to the next step. Take a look at the borrowers. Si Dr. Aris mentioned that from 99.4, naging 95 ang kanilang payment history rate. No? That's what we need to be able to do. Through the national ID system, be able to allow Juan de la Cruz in the respective corners of the provinces not only have an account, but be able to borrow, and with his good standards or good credit standard, be able to borrow at
Sir Wick, we can see you po. You can continue.
Okay. The challenge with what we currently have is that everyone are lumped together and they pay the same rate. Whether you pay good or you're a good payer or you've got a bad history, you are given the same treatment. And it is so difficult to see that those that are really religiously paying are lumped together with individuals who are not credit worthy. So we need to be able to take that to the next level. And that's what I'm encouraging my colleagues at the Bankers Association of the Philippines to do, to be able to take this to the next level because of financial inclusion is for the ability for someone to be able to grow economically. I personally went to Vietnam to take a look at how things operate. In Vietnam, you walk into a motorcycle shop, for example, in Ho Chi Minh. It is no longer the motorcycle dealer that approaches you. The person from the finance company, and there may be 2 or 3 who will approach you, and whoever you would like to entertain will ask your name and your ID number. Within 2 minutes, your positive or negative credit will flash into the screen. And immediately, if it's a very positive outcome, the agent will tell you, do you want to bring home this 2-wheeler? And if you're from Ho Chi Minh, there's no down payment. If you're outside of Ho Chi Minh, you pay a 30% down payment. After 6 months of you religiously paying, the finance company will offer you a credit card. So that means they're able to see how your credit has been performing, therefore offering you another credit alternative credit card. And after 6 months of you religiously paying your 2-wheeler and your credit card, you are now eligible for a cash loan that is not collateralized and allows you to be able to start your business. That's how we would like this to grow and how we would like to be able to help each and every Filipino. In the United States, there is a FICO or a credit scoring for individuals. And I hope that is something that we in the industry will be able to provide and give each and every Filipino because the moment the credit score is there, the financial discipline will start to develop. And with financial discipline comes the ability for every Filipino to be able to be an entrepreneur and be able to achieve their respective dreams and have access to money. Yan ang totoong financial inclusion. Let us work together in achieving this. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Veloso. Joey, please take it away.
Sir Joey, you're on mute.
Thank you very much for all those insights. Thank you, Wick. Thank you, SB. Thank you, Dr. Alip. Let me pose my first question to Dr. Alip because clearly card MRI is one of the leaders in terms of financial inclusion in the country. So Card MRI began delivery of its financial products and services in a very high-touch, face-to-face framework. What do you believe is the level of acceptance today of the digital approach with your customers, and what approaches did the Card MRI use to build greater market acceptance?
Thank you, Mr. Camus. Actually, it was a big challenge for us to begin with, because we started this Connect to Card using digital 5 years ago. There is really a challenge first for the staff and for our clients, the paradigm shift, because as you have said exactly, it's a very high contact approach. And clients really want to see always our account officer. So we really have to do financial literacy. We have to do a lot of education since 5 years ago. And this pandemic became an opportunity for us and for our clients and staff to hasten the digital transformation and also the education of our clients. It took us quite a time because a number of our clients are quite in their 40s and they are in the rural areas. One is they have difficulty in using ATM. They forget their password. So we introduced first the digital cash machine. So we use the QR code. And then we introduced the Connect to Card, wherein we have agents. The agents, and our winning formula was that it was coming directly from the village themselves. So these are also our members who own sari-sari store, and they have business with them almost daily. So that was our strategy, using our sari-sari store members, and we accredited them as our Connect to Card agents. So because they know them very well, and they have been transacting with them quite well, so it became quite easy and easier day by day. But patience is really a virtue in really reaching them. The problem now is that if there is no connectivity, many of our clients are now interested to join this. The problem is that we're operating in the farthest town of the country, the hard to reach area, even the mountainous area. So if there's no connectivity, then we have to come up with solution. SB was mentioning about this other solution. So what we did was establish our own remittance center. So that way, it's a first step. But we're also very thankful, like what Mr. Veloso has been mentioning, because they have been very supportive with us. The Bankers Association have been very supportive with us in Card MRI, in giving us access in commercial loans, so that we're able to retail this to our clients. So with this pandemic, you can see in our data, in our figures, we're still increasing and expanding our membership, and our loan is still increasing, and the repayment rate is very amazing despite of this COVID. Our repayment rate is will be back to normal at 99% by the end of the year. This is really one thing that I'm really advocating to the bankers. Do not be afraid with the microfinance institution. We are partners. We're your last conduit, the last mile conduit in bringing your wholesale fund to the microfinance client. And we do pay. We are very, very disciplined on this. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that answer, Dr. Alip. It seems to me that the agent is a very critical part of this process. Are you working to move away from that agency so that people can use their phones directly towards your digital platforms?
Sure. We're actually the Connect to Card agent is just one step. The next step is really making sure that they just do digital from mobile phone to our banking system, to our core banking system. And in fact, many of our clients are now veering away from our Connect to Card agents and doing direct digital transaction because they don't have to pay in terms of savings, in terms of withdrawal. So we are moving towards that direction. But then again, the issue is also when we're dealing with the poor, you must also remember the issue is the cost of a mobile phone.
Correct.
And the mobile phone with this digital system, there are specifications. So it's quite hefty when you talk about with the microfinance clients. So we're coming up and we have done this. We're also giving cell phone loan. And they can choose whatever is this, and it's very easy and affordable. Maybe we will work with other providers so that we can get cheaper and better cell phones. We're giving all these kind of gadgets to them.
Excellent, excellent. Now I have a question for SB. Your presentation mentioned that you had a 4 times growth in digital payments volume processed from non-NCR MSMEs. This is very interesting. How has PayMaya increased its penetration in the non-NCR space? Is there a particular strategy that you followed?
Yes, absolutely, Mr. Kamo. So we did 2 things. So one is, as I mentioned, we do have a on-ground network, our Smart Padla network, right, which itself grew rapidly, and we digitized that whole network through the course of 2020. So they are all now smartphone app-based. And as part of that, we continue to add the next level, which is deploying QRs for payments. So as Dr. Diokno mentioned about QRPH, so we are at the forefront of deploying that. So the idea was really to enable this whole network of agents to grow and at the same time become completely digital, to be able to accept QR payments as people get comfortable and get their own smartphones, or if people just want to walk into this network and use the ability to encash in and out, we've enabled that. So we've grown that network on ground, which is a digital network, and it helps people who may not have their own phones as yet, as Dr. Alip mentioned, cost of smartphone, cost of data, comfort in just being able to do digital transactions, they can use this network. The other thing that we have done is really to enable MSMEs to onboard themselves digitally. So those who want to operate out of their houses and have become entrepreneurial, and as the logistics piece has grown, one of the other things that pandemic has done is driven the whole logistic piece of fulfillment. So if I am producing or creating some goods or service, now it can be sent to people outside. Otherwise, I was restrained by the geographic footprint of where I was located. Now that has become much broader because there is a whole growth of logistics that has happened during this pandemic period as people have taken more and more to deliveries and the likes of that. So we have enabled them on the payment side. So you can now download the PayMaya Negotio app, onboard yourself in minutes, KYC, and start accepting payments. That has been the big push that has enabled us to grow the whole MSME acceptance outside of NCR. And the third thing that we did was we came up with the whole process of deploying less expensive point of sale machines. So if there are small merchants outside who needed a point of sale machine, we have made it easy for them to order that device, to send it through, they deploy it along with the app, and they're pretty much good to go instantly. So these are some of the things that we did that have changed. So there is like I mentioned, there's the consumers already moving digital. The MSMEs are realizing they need to move digital, and there is growing infrastructure on the ground that is now also enabling some of the digital infrastructure on payments, delivery, all that to start moving. So we've really been there at the forefront of trying to enable all aspects, thinking through whether someone just needs an app to start accepting payments, someone needs a simple point of sale device, how do we accept and help them with that? Or someone has a sari store, how do we just enable them to quickly just start upgrading and accepting payments? So that's been our strategy. And we have on-ground teams that have helped us to do that where there's contact required. But a lot of it is we're trying to promote self-onboarding, ease, accessibilities where people can just get going. It's intuitive, it's easy, which is absolutely critical.
I have a question for you from the floor from Mr. Warren de Guzman. He says, can you comment on Governor Diokno's news regarding the number of licenses for digital banks remaining to 6? Good news?
Naturally, we are absolutely pleased that we were number 6 and we were given the license by the BSP. It is something like I mentioned, it is a natural extension of our own vision and mission and what we need to do to go from payments to the next set of services. We believe that by integrating Maya Bank and PayMaya, we can seamlessly deliver, whether it's helping people to save money, whether it is helping them to extend loans to them for them to grow individually or for their MSME or their businesses, we can help with that. So I think now the onus is frankly on all of us who've been given the license, as Governor Diokno said, to demonstrate that we will deliver on our promise of expanding financial inclusion. And as Dr. Alip mentioned, I mean, to me, it's amazing that repayment rates of 99% plus, even in the most stressful period of pandemic, 95 and going back to 99. So most of the people out there have genuine needs. And now it is for us, the 6 of us, as the initial recipients of the digital bank to help drive that financial inclusion agenda forward. So we are very pleased that we are part of the group that has received the license. So we look forward to launching quickly.
I think it's interesting what Dr. Alip mentioned, that they use an agency force. And at the same time, PayMaya or Maya Bank has access to an agency force through its Smart Padala system. What can you comment on that? Are you planning to use them as agents?
So we absolutely, and as we mentioned, as consumers go digital on their own, so some of the basic things like sending money, which was a big part of our remittance business, our agents was remittances, domestic remittances. Now that business is changing as people more and more are sending money to each other. But there is still a need for people to cash in and cash out. So one of the big things we've done is, as a PayMaya wallet customer, you can go up to any of these agents, put cash on the table, and they will instantly top up your wallet, which then you can use to do digital payments or whatever. On the other side, if you have cash in your PayMaya digital wallet, but you want to take some of that cash out because there is still a need for cash payments, you can go to an agent and instantly take that out. Today, we are working with other banks and other partners to enable our agent networks to be able to do that. So they're kind of de facto like the ATM network on the ground, not just for us, but also for other financial institutions and partners who want to work with us. So we very much foresee this as an ecosystem that Mr. Kamus, we want to grow, both to provide newer services for the sari store owners and our MSMEs so they can make incomes from new services, as some of the older or initial forms of money sending start getting into a different dimension of automation and direct sending. So we want to create newer and newer services, and one of those is along the lines of being able to cash in, cash out, and not just do that, of course, for us, PayMaya and Maya Bank, but even potentially for other banks on a go-forward basis or other partners.
Thank you very much. I have a question for all of you, but this was brought up by Mr. Vic Veloso. He mentioned the case of cybersecurity. And clearly this is becoming one of the as more and more digitalization comes into play, cybersecurity becomes more and more a critical part of the process. What are you doing to protect the consumer from cybersecurity attacks? I'd like all of you to answer, but SB, you can go first.
Sure. So for us, this is absolutely a very key point that Mr. Veloso mentioned. I mean, it is a massive concern for all of us. We play largely in the digital space. So for us, we had to work hard with the BSP to first come up with the whole process of the eKYC. Now, today, a customer to open their PayMaya account, which is like opening a bank account for full KYC, you record a liveness video, you take a photograph of your ID, and then our systems at the back end, our AI/ML systems, smash the two together to make sure that you're a real human being, that your photo ID matches along with the liveness video that you've got, that the ID itself is genuine. We're doing the check for AML and everything else at the back end. And we are instantly then spitting out a decision on approval or if further information is needed. Now, all this is using a lot of technology that has been built out. So that's the good news, that the development of technology today, along with a lot of investment that we're doing on the AI/ML, is helping us to constantly stay ahead. But it is a battle. So we're constantly looking at all kinds of fraud tools, all kinds of data analytics, and the next level of authentication that may be required for transactions, looking for patterns in transactions. So we all have to constantly keep thinking ahead so that we can stay ahead of the concerns that are very much there. So we run a 24/7, multiple redundancies, constantly using these tools. We are investing heavily in these areas and continue to invest because it is a real concern that we've got. People are trusting us with their hard-earned money, and most of the people are very much genuine customers who want to use us, and as they want to use Dr. Alep's solutions and others, but there is a set of rogue actors who are constantly looking for weaknesses. So I think the technology part to me is the most critical piece, and that's where we believe with our investments and our capabilities, we can create that and have created confidence. But at the same time, I think now the development of PhilSys ID, national ID, I think some of the laws that are being looked at now to make things like compromising your KYC or your IDs or participating can become criminal offenses. I think these are things that, along with greater education of people saying that your KYC, your ID is absolutely sacrosanct, do not sell it or give it out. So between rollout of PhilSys ID, more and more education of customers, more and more legislation that makes it harder for and makes it harder for criminals to get hold of and start using ID, and most importantly, technology. I think that's the way forward, and we've been doing that. And I think some of these other blocks are coming together now. So we are pretty positive and energized by that the developments are all moving in the right direction. Of course, we would like them to move even faster, but they are moving in the right direction.
Thank you. Wick,
Joey, can I add to
yes, please.
The case of the Philippines is really unique because the end-to-end account opening, I always challenge IT vendors, primarily on a unique situation where in the Philippines, there's such a thing as a recto avenue identification that can be sourced. And you talk about those kind of issues when you speak to a vendor coming from the US, coming from Japan, coming from Korea, coming from Singapore. And they're all surprised. What are you talking about? So there are inherent risks that we need to be able to address locally. And that's one of those. And we need to really work together and the law enforcement agencies be immediately have the ability to learn and enforce the law. Otherwise, if we just let these individuals go scot-free, then it is going to be difficult because trust and confidence in a digital payment portal is important. Otherwise, everyone will go to the mainstream banking, which is something that we're already able to successfully uh, move into uh, a more agile and efficient system. Thank you.
What are the initiatives of the BAP, the Bankers Association, with regard to cybersecurity?
We're coordinating with the Philippine National Police and also the National Bureau of Investigation to ensure that the approach is going to be nationwide and be able to allow us to have all our not only the law enforcement, the legal side be very familiar. So we're still in the coordination stage. It requires a huge amount of training on their end.
Thank you.
Yes,
Dr. Alip,
yeah.
your comment on cybersecurity?
Yeah, yes, I'd like to add what SB and Mr. Bill also mentioned about the security concern. This is really very timely, especially to our sector. You know, our clients, maybe a number of them are illiterate when it comes to phonetics, but when it comes to numbers, they're very numerate. So we really have to take care of their funds. 10 pesos really means something to them. So we have invested a lot in our security, in cyber security. And in fact, we have a special unit that really try to hack our own system so that, uh, we have to make sure that our system is really foolproof. And then again, we have this KYC, very strong KYC, because we really have to make sure that our clients are the one really withdrawing. Because sometimes our nanays, as we call them, sometimes they give their ATM card to their sons and daughter, and they're the one making the withdrawal. So we have to make sure that these things are really done through a KYC. We really have to make sure that they're the ones withdrawing. That's why we have this insurance of control system. So just like what SBS mentioned, we are investing a lot in the security. We're fully aware of what Mr. Velosa has been mentioning about the cybersecurity, and we're just really making sure that this don't happen to clients.
Thank you very much. Um, let's move towards. Let's move to loans. One of the, again, Mr. Veloso mentioned that the Philippines needs a more robust credit information, credit scoring system to be put in place. In your mind, Dr. Alip, do you see that as important, or are your current approaches sufficient for the microfinance business?
Let me answer it this way. First, the microfinance industry, through Card MRI and other big institutions, MFIs, we have organized our own microfinance credit. In our own microfinance credit bureau, this is actually the MIDAS, which was also helped um, by BAP when it was first established. So we have in our data both positive and negative list, so to speak, over 11 million already in our data system. So when there are potential clients who want to be members, who want to get a loan, so we first double check with our microfinance credit bureau. But Joey, I'd like to mention also that we don't call our clients those who are in the negative list. We call them borrowers at risk. We're in the business of poverty eradication. If we weed them out, we don't include them, we exclude them, where is financial inclusion? So we have another program, which is what we call rehabilitation for the borrowers at risk. And we try to rehabilitate them. And our batting average is quite good. Out of 10, we're able to rehabilitate quite quickly 8 of them. The 2, we're still working on them. Because if you don't allow them to go back to the system, this will become the ills of the society. And because our business is poverty eradication, we want to make sure that they go back to the financial system. Actually, I also have some issues, well, not issues, but concern about the credit scoring. Credit scoring will also do financial exclusion because you're scoring those who go below 5, you don't want to give them loans, or you give them higher interest rate. Those above 5 to 10, you will give them loans. This is where my problem is. Most of our microfinance clients might score below 5, but actually they're very good in payments. In fact, some of the financial provider was asking me, Dr. Alip, how are you able to maintain a repayment rate of 99%, 95% with this pandemic? Why are we having problems? Our NPL is becoming very high. I said, this is the magic of microfinance institution. I see that this credit scoring is just a tool. It is not an end by itself. So we use this as a measure, but we also want to check what's really happening within the members. So we still go there on a face-to-face and visit them.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ali. SB, what's your comment on the credit scoring, and are you going to use this in granting loans under PayMaya system, Maya Bank?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So first of all, I think, we believe that for a number of areas, there needs to be deep partnership across the financial ecosystem. Right? So we are integrated with the banking system through InstaPay, PesoNet. We are one of the first adopters, QRPH. We're one of the first people rolling that out. Infrastructure around fraud, information sharing around fraud, credit. I think these are common muscles that should be built out, because the more there is that the financial institutions share and strengthen, the faster the whole kind of ability to include more and more people will grow. So we are very much in the scheme of that this is not an individual effort that will get us there, but this is really a collective effort that needs to be there across the industry. Now, as far as the credit scoring in particular is concerned, we know the coverage today in the Philippines is still growing. It's still thin. Dr. Alip has been at the forefront of developing that for a large number of customer base. Now, what we want to do is, as he mentioned, the problem is the second you start off, if you want to start off with long tenor, large size loans, that's when it becomes challenging for either people to extend or to include. The thing that technology does is it enables you to disseminate small loans with short tenors and be able to collect back automatically, seamlessly, without cost, right? Both for us and for the consumer, so that they can start building up the history and do that quickly. And I think Mr. Veloso alluded to some of that in the example, like, for example, he was giving out of Vietnam and stuff. So that is exactly what we want to do. So people who don't have credit histories or first time ever getting into the financial inclusion, extend to them small amounts of loans. Let them build out their own confidence, their own history, and do that quickly, on the back of which then you continue to build out. Those who have more established, you can do longer loans, longer tenors, higher amounts, and the likes of that. So I think that's where the whole technology piece comes in, Mr. Kamos, and makes the difference about financial inclusion can be driven, but the build of the credit scoring is done because technology will allow us to disseminate smaller amounts, smaller tenor, and help customers then to build their own credit history, which is what you do with the FICOs in the US and everywhere else. So that's why we are pretty excited that with Maya Bank, we will be able to help customers get in, build out the history over time. And then, of course, like I said, fundamentally, we believe that these are areas of cooperation of credit bureau, fraud, and other connectivity that's common, that should be common across all the financial institutions to really make sure we can move this in a sustainable and faster way, the growth of financial inclusion.
Thank you, SB. Wick, I'd like to know what your what the BAP's opinion of the work that CIC is doing towards credit investigation, credit reports. How is the BAP working with CIC towards that?
There has been a renewed focus on the quality of information that is being provided. Clearly, this business is about quality of data, and the quality of the data requires the proper submission of information, and that's what we've been working together with the rest of the BAP members with CIC.
Thank you. The next question I want to pose to all of you is, clearly the BSP has many initiatives towards financial inclusion, and many of these have been successful. But what other initiatives, advocacies, or regulation do you want to see as you move forward with your own digital business? Wick?
You see, the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas has been very supportive to the financial institutions in terms of providing us a digital roadmap. And it's really about us, the banks, to be able to ensure that we reinvent ourselves. When I say we reinvent ourselves, gone are the days that you're just so familiar about people walking into the branch, withdrawing cash. You need to be able to adapt. I believe that the regulations, all the regulations for us to be able to compete are out. It is just a matter of financial institutions now being able to be agile, to have the customer experience as a priority. The late Governor Paeng Buenaventura, in his term, shared that he wanted bank consolidation to happen in the Philippines. My view is, if you are unable to provide the customer experience where most of the Filipinos, by virtue of this lockdown, made them very familiar with online banking. If you are unable to catch up, you are going to have no value. And that is going to make the consolidation happen sooner than later. The value of those that are unable to cope to be relevant. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Alip, what would you like to see the BSP do more with respect to the digital framework that they're already providing?
Well, number one is really on the issue of connectivity. That's a great concern, because if we're talking of financial inclusion, and this your very relevant theme today, inclusion with reference to disruption, the cost is really quite a concern for the hard to reach area and the connectivity. That's number one. Number two, for microfinance institution like us, because we're quite big and quite established already, and there are about 4 or 5 of us who's very established already with the commercial bank. BSP is also working with the Bill Guarantee Corporation, that the smaller MFIs will have access to get the wholesale loan from commercial bank, from the Bankers Association. And hopefully, they can really push that agenda, that PIL guarantee can provide the needed guarantees, so that the big banks will be able to have that assurance that the smaller microfinance institution will be able to pay their loans. And that will really help in financial inclusion, in reaching poorer people in the countryside.
Thank you. SB?
Yeah, I think a lot of the railroads are already there, Mr. Kamo. So the BSP, in terms of whether you look at the recent grant of digital bank license, or whether it is, as Governor Diokno laid out, the vision of 50% of payments being electronic, 70% of basic account being made available to all Filipinos in the near future. We spoke about FILSIS. So I think all the foundational blocks are pretty much there. The question is momentum and speed, right? So to me, it is, I don't see any yawning gap in an area that's not been thought about. But the piece around financial literacy, pushing that faster, rollout of national IDs, the legislation to make it difficult for people to compromise their IDs and to get investigated for fraud elements, and the continuing partnership, there are different forums, the PPMI, et cetera, where you get an opportunity for various players to continue to work in a cohesive fashion. So I think all the building blocks are very much there. I don't see anything that's missing. Versus if you'd asked the same question, I think 12, 18 months back, you could see there were a couple of big foundational pieces which were still not there. I think now it's a question of speed of implementation and accelerating those pieces rather than any new areas that need to be pushed. But the only other piece I would add is that as this journey progresses, I think the openness of conversation, which we have found very positive with the BSP, right? So if we discover that there are certain requirements or rules that they have, which become challenging in the new paradigm, I think that continued openness to listen and make changes as required, which has always been the case with BSP. So to us, that will be most critical as the kind of disruptors, because you do have to redefine some of the ways of doing things on a go-forward basis.
Thank you. Before we close today, I'd like to give each of the presenters a minute or two to make a final statement. Wick, do you want to start?
I would like to first thank FINEX for organizing this. Financial inclusion is really an important part of how we can empower the rest of the Filipinos to be able to move forward wealth and be productive citizens. So the Bankers Association of the Philippines is working hand in hand with your regulators and everyone else in the industry to make this possible. Thank you so much.
Dr. Alip?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Joey. This is indeed a very engaging forum for me, representing the microfinance industry. And I really always would like to thank FINEX for coming up with very relevant theme like this inclusion on financial inclusion and this inclusion disruption, because this is the very core that I'm really lobbying. Do not forget the unbanked, the poor sector. As I've said, card MRI is not really in the business of microfinance, microinsurance per se. We're in the business of poverty eradication. We love to connect with this digital bank, SB. I think we're working now with you, with PayMaya Bank. And because we don't see all these banks as competition, we look at them as complementary to what we're doing. So the more institutions that help the unbanked sector and underserved clients, we're very happy to work with them. Thank you very much.
SB?
Yeah, thank you again to FINEX for organizing this important forum. I think, to me, that I would just like to add two other things. Hopefully, both within the Philippines and people outside the Philippines are seeing the excitement and the various developments that are happening in the financial sector in the Philippines. I think with the momentum that's picking up, with all the progressive policies that are coming out, so I'm hoping that will attract even more people to both come up, innovate, come up with new solutions. It will attract even more capital to come in to help deploy further new innovations. And like I said, both within the Philippines, but outside players also who will see this as a large attractive market, which is now very much opening itself towards even greater financial innovation and disruption using the fintech platform. So that's my hope, and that's what we would like to see. And forums like this FINEX forum, which reach out to audiences regionally and globally, I think are a great way for us to be able to get the message out there that Philippines is very much open for business, and we want to see more and more interesting solutions and technologies coming to drive the whole gamut of financial inclusion. So thank you.
Thank you very much. In closing this session, Achieving Inclusivity for the People, let me first thank the Honorable Governor Benjamin Diokno for his presentation on the Philippine economy and the advocacies and initiatives of the BSP in building greater financial inclusivity for Filipinos. I would also like to thank the members of the panel for their insightful contribution to the discussion. Dr. Jaime Aristotel Alep for his presentation on card MRI's approach to continuing to reach and support the bottom of the pyramid in the new normal. Card MRI continues to be a leader in meeting the financial needs of the large number of our unbanked countrymen. Next, SB, President of PayMaya Philippines, for his presentation on the ongoing digital transformation of the Filipino consumer. And Jose Arnulfo Veloso, the President of the Philippine National Bank and current President of the Bankers Association of the Philippines, for his insight on cybersecurity and on his direction for financial inclusion. Financial inclusion means that individuals and businesses have access to useful and affordable financial products and services that meet their needs. These products and services include payments, savings, credit, insurance, delivered in a responsible and a sustainable way. The country, led by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, has a robust financial inclusion strategy and program, and the program has made headway in enabling Filipinos, unbanked Filipinos, to have access to formal bank transactions. However, as Mr. Veloso has mentioned, this is only the first step towards broader financial inclusion. Bank transaction accounts serve as a gateway to other financial services. The future initiatives of the Philippine banks, the digital platforms such as PayMaya, GCash, and fintech disruptors must continue to draw the unbanked and newly banked Filipinos towards deeper and meaningful financial inclusivity. Let our vision be the Filipino consumer exploring and using additional financial services to facilitate and enhance their day-to-day financial living. Thank you again for your participation in this session on Achieving Inclusivity for the People, and let the discussion today bring us closer to meaningful financial inclusivity. Jing, I return the floor to you.
We would like to thank our keynote speaker, Governor Diokno, to our panelists, Dr. Alip, Mr. Baidwan, and Mr. Veloso, and to our moderator, Mr. Camus, for ably moderating the panel discussion. We would also like to thank our sponsors. This conference won't be possible without your support. To our partners, Divina Law, LT Group of Companies, and Union Bank of the Philippines. To our platinum sponsors, Aboitiz Equity Ventures Inc., Alliance Global Group Inc., First Philippine Holdings Corporation, NOAA Business Applications, Robinson's Land Corporation, United Auctioneers Inc., and Vista Land and Lifescapes Inc. To our diamond sponsors, All Day Supermarket, All Home, Ayala Land Inc., Meralco, and Reyes Takandong and Company. To our knowledge partner, KPMG RG Manabat and Company. To To our gold sponsors, Accra Law, Cirtec Holdings Philippines Corporation, Converge ICT Solutions Inc., Navarro Ampere and Company Deloitte Philippines, FTI Consulting Inc., Metrobank, Mondnison Corporation, P&A Grant Thornton, RCBC, San Miguel Corporation, Filipina Shell Petroleum Corporation, SGV and Company, and Philinvest Development Corporation. To our patron sponsors, BDO Unibank Inc., Bank of the Philippine Islands, Mega World, Philippine National Bank, Security Bank, Vulcan Depot, and East West Bank. To our official broadcast partner, ABS-CBN News Channel, and our print media partners, Business Mirror, Business World, The Manila Times, and Daily Tribune. We would like to thank everyone for attending today's session of the FINEX Week Conference. We hope that you will continue to participate in the rest of our webinars this week. Thank you everyone, keep safe and healthy.